let's do a little something. Let me give you some more gamesmanship here.
Yes,
okay.
let's do it.
So here's the biggest thing: is what happens is a lot of times when you're on a podcast, the best thing to promote is
welcome to the Your Message Received podcast. And now, taking your message to the finish line, your host, John Duffin.
Hey folks, John Duffin here with Duffin Media. Welcome back to another episode of Your Message Received. Your Message Received is the home, the place, the platform to help you find your best, most true, authentic business voice. Well, maybe we shorten that up a little bit. Help you find your best, authentic voice, period. Get what you want, find what you need, improve your results, make billions of dollars, meet the person of your dreams. And today's guest assures me that he will guarantee that we make that happen during this episode. And if not, maybe I just made that up. But what I'm already liking is the energy that should ensue. So we're thrilled that you're here. We're thrilled that you keep watching and listening and subscribing and sharing and all that stuff. And I think the reason good things continue to happen in regards to the show is we get to bring people on the show who walk the walk, meaning deliver their own arc to their own authenticity. And today is absolutely no exception. So I get to introduce folks Vince Quinn. And Vince Quinn happens to be the creative director, co-founder of SBX Productions, and is a podcast host, by the way, which is also a big deal to me. It's not just talking, and has parlayed a long time syndicated radio career into the ability to now coach and improve others in the communications, connection, and podcast game. Vince, thanks for joining me, man. I'm glad you're here.
John, thanks for having me. Two Philly guys just doing their thing, just living their lives.
Not only two Philly guys, but it's also, folks, if you knew, I always take pride in the sense that, oh my God, so-and-so watched this from Ireland or wherever, but we are literally blocks apart in Philadelphia, and I find that fascinating. So right off the bat, I'm just really, really happy. So man, yeah, I can feel more comfortable with my Philly accent and not feel self-conscious about it at all. So it's just great that you're here, man.
Just give you a little taste of home, little
oh my God,
a little home cooking.
God almighty, that just hits. Folks, as I said, there's a perfect Philly and or Delco accent that you just heard, by the way. So nicely done. Vince, I wanted to ask you right off the bat, in terms of growing up, talk to me about your Philly life as leading up to becoming an adult. What was it like for you?
Yeah, it was great. My life was amazing. I had nothing to complain about, really. My life was so good. Growing up in Delco, parents are the nicest people on the planet. I have a gigantic family, which is common in Delco, but massive. So my dad, one of 14.
Oh my God. Okay. Nice.
Yeah. So that's it. Just 14 of them. And then my mom's one of 6. So and everybody really gets along well. So many cousins, and obviously now at this age, so many of my cousins are married and everything. So it's just cool to see this big family and how it's all grown up, and to just be a small part of that is very cool. But yeah, so I had a great family environment. I had friends all over the place. I've stayed in touch with a lot of my friends. So people I was in grade school with and knew from the neighborhood, I'm still friends with them. People from high school, people from college. I've maintained a lot of relationships over the years. So very fortunate in that way. Not any serious struggles. I was terrible at sports. I was always on the B team. There's not, you know what I mean? It was just basic suburbia stuff. So things were great, man. Everything was great. And then, I eventually got to a point where after St. Joe's Prep High School, say that because you're a local guy, Fordham University for college up in the Bronx, I got the chance to get into radio, and it was kind of this, I never expected this, but it makes all the sense in the world kind of things.
Crazy. Now, since you have literally a lengthy and significant family lineage, so to speak. First off, where in Delco?
Yeah, I grew up in Alden.
Oh my God, there you go. So you've got dad with 14, or to use your words, just 14. That's it. That'll do. And then the slackers on your mom's side with only 6.
Yep.
What, and you said family, friends, we're still local. What gave you the guts to leave the area to go to college?
Well, it wasn't too much. It's funny because it was a very comfortable way to go out of town and go to New York. So first off, St. Joe's Prep sent so many kids to Fordham at that time.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, they were the biggest feeder school to Fordham. So they sent, 17, 18 kids every year. So by the time when I went to Fordham, I actually roomed with one of my best friends from high school, so
wow.
it was a pretty easy transition. My brother was at Fordham 2 years ahead, so I'd already toured the school, seen the campus, knew a bunch of people there. It just, on some level, it felt like an evolution of high school. It was sort of an alternate branch of it. So yeah, everything felt really natural, but it was cool to be in another city that wasn't too far away. And it's it's New York. Like you just get the New York experience. So I thought that was really exciting.
How was the New York experience for you?
It was mostly good. If anything, the only problem I had at my school is it was too strict. They just weren't. It wasn't the most fun place. You had to make your own fun and kind of fight to have fun.
Okay.
But other than that, yeah, I mean, I met a lot of great people there. Like I said, I'm still friends with my core group of friends from college. Still have a good relationship with them. But it was nice to be able to hop on the subway, go to Manhattan, get the opportunity to go to different concerts. Everybody tours in New York.
Yeah.
You've got all these cool bars and restaurants. There's so many neighborhoods to explore. There's just a million things going on. You have all these different people. And so to get that heightened experience of the diversity and energy of New York, on some level, it really made me appreciate Philly more, because it got to a point where it was like, oh, New York is too busy. Like there's too many people. And so I get why people love that. But day to day, Philly is the right level of busy, has all the culture, but it's not overflowing with everything. You have a chance to park your car on the street. It's not a given, but like you have a chance. It doesn't cost $1 billion. It costs like $500 million. So it's just, yeah, all of that kind of stuff. It just made me appreciate Philly more, but it was good to get that experience because I had to find out. I had to see what it was like to be up there and how New York worked.
I love the fact that you got to do that and you got to experience New York. And I feel like if you're going to do it, even as you said, you were responsible to make your own fun, but it sounds like fun you had. I love the fact, because I'm also a massive Philadelphia sports fan, that one of the parts that got my attention right away. So folks, if you're in the Philadelphia area and this gentleman relatively recently retired, but is just a Philadelphia legend. So you got the chance to experience professionally working with Angelo on the morning team. And so
Yep.
I got to tell you, one of my biggest heartbreaks personally was I did not get the sales job at WIP when early on. This is 100 years ago, but I still remember. With Philadelphia radio, that was such a legendary experience, and I want to talk to you about that specific experience. The getting up early to be in work, to be on a show that is wildly popular, and the pressure that comes with that. How were you able to, like, you go to what is one of the largest radio organizations in the world, and go to their marquee morning drive program. What was the experience like for you?
Yeah, on some level, it was unbelievable, right?
Yeah.
It's here I am in Philly where everybody's obsessed with the Eagles and everything else, just sports in general, to be working at a sports radio station with guys that I grew up seeing on TV, listening to on the radio, and just now being coworkers with them. That was wild. And to see what the operation was like behind the scenes, because the thing about Angelo that makes him a master of it is just the attention to detail.
Okay.
And so everything matters. Every second matters. Every opinion matters. Every reply matters. the way that, callers, and he's juggling how long they're on for and what he's trying to get out of them, the kinds of questions he's asking those people, the way he interviews. Like, he thought about everything. He thought about it obsessively. He had a very high degree or a high bar of what was acceptable. And he held himself accountable. And I think that's really the biggest part of it, is to see a guy do all of that and demand so much from everybody else, but at the same time brought it every single day. I mean, he never had a day where he comes in and goes like, "Oh, I'm so hungover, I can't do it." You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I don't even think Angelo drank. So yeah, but he always came in completely ready, 3:45, 4 a.m, has a whole list of things that he wants to do, always trying to push the bar. It's never satisfied. And it was elite radio. And to see like a true professional at the top of his game, commanding a team like that, where you have all of these people around the show, different kinds of producers and co-hosts and just experts. And to be able to juggle all of that and, run one of the biggest events in the country with Wing Bowl and help build that and everything else around it. It was shocking, honestly. It was just such a sight to behold, of him in command of all of it.
I got to tell you, it had to be a legendary experience. But a couple of detailed questions. How did you adjust to the crazy early hours? Or was that just a natural, you just go do it?
So yeah, you just go do it. And it was one of those things where I was getting hours all the time at different random pockets of the day. So for me, because it started in promotion. So I was on the promotions team. I'd go to events. I'd spin the wheel. Then I got into engineering, and sometimes I'd have to be at a location at 5 a.m. to set up for a 6 a.m. or an 8 a.m. show. So I'm at the station and I'm up at 3, so I producing. So being behind the scenes, answering calls, playing the sound bites and everything, that was an overnight job. Sometimes you come in at midnight, you leave at 6 a.m. So I was always doing that. And that's just the chaos of radio, is it's live all the time and they need people all the time. And I needed shifts wherever I could take them. So that's what I did. It was part of the reason I left. But
yeah, and that's so you used a term that I absolutely loved just a moment ago. And this was elite radio. And I agree, by the way, and I agree with that show and all of that. And however, the times, the hours, the pressure, and there were a lot of people behind the scenes. So this was not always, and sorry, folks watching and listening, throwing around first names like you would know who I'm talking about, like Al Morganti and Rhea and, and Tony and and then there's this team of people that are doing, it's not grunt work, it's very necessary work. But as you said, you had to I needed shifts. I was doing this or doing that. What would you say were the strongest takeaways that you got from that experience?
Yeah, I mean, it's everything I learned from Angelo just about running a show. Is the biggest thing. And it really came down to the idea that I was fortunate enough where I had a student mindset when I got to the station. And I just said, this is a place where I think I can really thrive, and I'm going to give it everything I've got. So that's why I was taking all the shifts and like very quickly starting to climb the ladder. So one of the things that helped me do that was when I started working with Angelo, and initially I was like dealing with wingettes and eaters. So competitive eaters doing just guys who were drinking a gallon of milk and eating a half loaf of bread in 5 minutes. Totally normal stuff. So like cleaning up after those guys and just making sure things worked on the back end. And I would be doing that, but I started to get shows at the station. And as it got to a point where I was starting to host, he actually heard me and he thought I was interesting. And I asked him at some point, I was like, well, listen, I would love to just pick your brain for 20 minutes after the show. Do you have some time? And sometimes he did, sometimes he didn't. But overall, he gave me a lot of time, man. I had the opportunity to sit down one-on-one with a guy who was incredibly passionate about radio and had full command of everything. And I was able to see him do that day in and day out and understand both sides of the operation as a host, as a producer, the roles of the other people, how he's trying to get the most out of them. And so to be able to see things happen and then ask him like, hey, so you made this decision. Why did you do that? And what is your thought process on it? That was awesome. I actually have like somewhere behind me, I have a legal pad of his from when he was planning the shows. And because that's what he would always do. He'd come in, he'd fill out a legal pad for the day, what he wanted to do in each time block, the kinds of questions, the sound bites, all of it. And I would like go through his notes and just ask him things. And he would listen to my show on the way in, because occasionally I would fill in for the show before his.
Yep.
So and for for us, Big Daddy Graham, who was my guy. So I would fill in.
Soul. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Angelo would listen to those shows on the way in, and he would also give me notes on the way in. Like he would get to the station and be like, "Hey, in 3:30 segment, you did this one thing. Never do that again." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And and he was harsh, but he was harsh because he cared and he knew that I could take it, and I wanted that. So, that was the biggest thing. Is I just got this like masterclass all the time of what it takes to run a show at a high level and how to truly commit to hosting the best possible show that you can.
Were you always able to handle pressure? Speaking of this high level that you're talking about, was that something that came naturally? Is that a learnable skill? How did that manifest with you?
Yeah, no. I mean, sometimes I blew it in pressure. Absolutely. Because
I didn't say you're not perfect. I'm just only asking, you know what I mean? That it's like, how do you adapt to that sort of a pressure situation?
Yeah, I just decided that I'm going to go and I'm going to do it. And I think I'm good at this and I'm going to figure it out. And that was with everything. I threw myself at the wall. And there were times where I would be editing comedy bits. So I would be working with Joe Conklin, who's a comedian with the morning show.
Right.
And like super talented guy.
An amazing impressionist too. So
yeah, and that was the thing is Joe would have these scripts. We would have to plan the script out. So Joe would write the script. I would occasionally, because I loved comedy and writing jokes, and I had an interest in doing stand-up and even worked at a comedy club at one point. So I was looking at his script, planning ahead for the kinds of editing elements that we need. I would suggest some jokes and see if he'd take them.
Yeah.
And then the next morning, we would go and record those bits. And sometimes those bits did not go well, or something in the news changed and we had to alter what we were doing. And so this is live, and all of this stuff is due in like 2 hours.
Yep.
You don't have time to operate. So the times where I was under the gun because, Joe is under the gun and he's feeling it from Angelo, and I'm the editor, so I'm under the gun from Joe.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's just
that's what I'm asking. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was... Yeah, incredibly high pressure. So it was one of those things where I would be editing those things and my hands would be shaking. I could hardly hit the keys right, but I was able to always get the bit done. Right. And so, that's why they kept calling me back and giving me more responsibility. And then eventually it got to a point where when Angelo's main producer, Joe Wechter, was out, I would get the fill-in shifts and I would become Joe, which is a massive compliment. Like, it's a massive compliment to get that kind of nod. So I really appreciated that because he had the faith in me to do that job. And so, and Joe was a whole other series of lessons. But yeah, just great people, great experiences. And it's just time. It's just time and pressure. That's it.
I asked that question simply because, and by the way, I've been taking this ongoing survey and I still can't answer the question on my own, but it's like, is handling pressure a learnable skill? That's the reason I ask it. You know what I mean? Or is that either you got it or you don't? And
yeah, I think on some level it's you got it or you don't, right? Like some people are just like, yeah, I don't care, I'm good, I'm ready to go. And other times, I mean, I'm such a detail-oriented person.
Right.
That, for me, it drives me nuts. Like, I'm a control freak. And so I want perfection, and that will make me nervous because I want it to be such a great thing and I care about it so much. So I've gotten better at it and I've relaxed a little bit more as I've figured a lot of things out. But overall, I would say I entered it, and generally I did not deal well with pressure, and I just had to figure it out. I unfortunately, you have to figure it out live in high stakes scenarios.
That's it. High stakes, early morning, massive money pressure in terms of the ad sales that are being conducted there. So it's phenomenal. I even think the fact is for you that you were able to navigate a show as a result of it, which on a monster radio network is like to me, bucket list for anybody, certainly bucket list for me. So What did it feel like when you got the opportunity, when they say, you know what, the Vince Quinn show sounds good. Let's go with that. What was that? What did that feel like when you were doing it? Or I'm sorry, when you first started doing it?
Well, yeah, it was one of the happiest days of my life getting that
right.
call. I mean, what can you say? It's, oh my God, I'm nationally syndicated. I'm a CBS Sports radio host. Like, what? It's, yeah, I've got my own show. Like, are you serious? And so to think about that and to do it so quickly, I think is part of what gave me that sense of like euphoria that came with it, was because I was told early, I hosted my first show at 25. And just period. My first radio show was 25. And they said, listen, I mentioned my age on the air. And they said, you can't mention how old you are until you're 40. And I was like,
okay.
Whoa. I was like, you're telling me I need to do live shows for 15 years and not say how old I am on any of them. And they're basically like, yeah. So, okay. Massive accomplishment, a little weird, but massive accomplishment.
Yeah.
And same thing. I got the national show when I was 29.
Yeah.
And so like crazy, you know, it was crazy to do that so young. And on some level it became complicated because I was so far ahead of the game. And when I got to CBS, what happened was there were other people, and I was feeling this at WIP as well, of I'm passing other people. I'm climbing the ladder faster than them. So then there's this weird thing where guys that are older than me have been around longer than me. I'm passing them. And now it's like, as a host, I'm kind of in charge of them as a producer, and I'm asking things, which is a little weird. And then same thing, once I show up to New York at CBS Sports Radio, these guys don't know who I am. And so not only am I a younger guy, but I'm a younger guy from Philly that has now come in and taken a slot that they wanted and would kill for. So there was like a little bit of tension in the room with all of that, because people were naturally frustrated that I was there instead of them, and I totally get it. You know,
I love the fact that they told you not to give your age for 15 years, but I understand, because in whether it is television or radio or just business, that you were, in essence, the boss. Number one, you're passing people, as you already explained. Number two, as you had said, as that you're asking people to do things, which is code for you're their boss. And in my mind, I'm thinking that, are they muttering, mumbling, walking out like saying, this kid's going to tell me, there's some wet behind the ears kid has no idea what he's doing. I think it's all the more impressive that when you navigate that landscape. I did that from a business, not a broadcast, from a business perspective a long time ago. And I remember that was way easier said than done, because I went through all sorts of weird emotions. Like I felt bad, I felt guilty, you know what I mean? And all that stuff. And as excited as it was, that it was also difficult for me. So I commend you, I acknowledge you for being able to do it at all. So what I'm curious about is, as it regards to the responsibilities that you had, the prestige, and just the fun of having your own show, what would you say was the biggest accomplishment by your measuring sticks in regards to having the platform? And conversely, what would you say was the biggest challenge?
Show. Okay. It's a heck of a question. The biggest accomplishment, I think, is it's walking away with no regrets. Funny enough, is because I left at 31, you know, so I was there for a couple of years. I gave it everything that I had, and I worried ultimately about what my future was going to be. So I think this is all of the stuff at the same time. It's accomplishment and challenge, right? It was, I showed up every single week. I prepared like crazy. So I'm watching stuff all the time, reading stuff all the time, taking notes constantly. I'm showing up 4 hours before the show. I know everything that's happening that night. I'm aware by the time I get on air of stuff that's gone down from the games that played. I'm taking notes. I've got stats. I've got sound bites. We're cutting that in real time. We've recorded some interviews. Like I really thoughtfully designed every minute of that show every single time. And to put that kind of work in, it was cool because people in the building very quickly came around to appreciate me. Like I mentioned, that tension, they realized very quickly.
Right? I mean, yeah. So
and that was cool. And part of it was I wanted to build something. Like my biggest thing was I wanted the show to feel alive.
Mhm.
It needed to feel like it wasn't just a guy that was talking somewhere. It needed to feel like there were multiple people and there was personality and there was some sort of vibe to the show that went beyond your baseline talk show. There had to be a little bit more. And so trying to incorporate other guys that were there, whether they were just on the desk and their job was to literally record sound bites and edit them,
Right.
and no air gig, but just like bringing them in for 10 minutes to ask them about something, or having funny back and forth with me and my producer yelling at each other as these recurring bits, and bringing in other people. So it was always dynamic in that way. And I ended up getting a pretty good response from people as a result too.
Yep.
Just like listeners of the show, everything was really positive. Management was positive, but the challenge was, I really didn't see a stable future for me in that business. And when you think about all the layoffs that have happened in corporate radio, there's so much sports content, and it's only getting more and more and more like that. That industry is just cannibalizing itself every single day.
100%.
And getting spread so thin. So it's like, okay, well, I don't necessarily believe in the future of corporate radio or the stability of corporate radio. I'm still going to have to grind it out for a few more years before anybody that's above me, because they're relatively young, to get a job that I would want, which is either Philly or New York in the national show. So, and frankly, I liked national better. As much as I was a local guy, national fit my speed and my demeanor better. So I am not a diehard loyalist fan in the way that a lot of other people are.
Got it.
So my whole thing was, a guy comes up for the MVP conversation. It would be, this Eagles player should be the MVP. And then my show on Philly would be like, well, he's like the fifth candidate right now. If I had to pick, he's not even close, So stuff like that got me in trouble. But that's how I was. I looked at the league. I like the league. I like the sport. I happen to be an Eagles fan. That's my team. And I love the Eagles. But like, that I love the sport. So I was a national mentality, and that did play well because you're talking to America. You're talking to football fans everywhere. So to be able to say, hey, I love what this team is doing, and I think this is interesting, and I hate this guy or this strategy, people respected that. And it was a good rapport. So I felt like if I'm going to truly have the future that I would fully want, it would have to be a national show. I didn't want to wait to get it. And I didn't have full confidence that I, could trust management to keep me there long term, because that's how the radio business is. You get 2-year contracts. It's always again and again and again. And like, am I willing to prove myself? Yes. Am I willing to put in the work? Yes. But when I had to think about what the time risk was, the time investment as well, not just, hey, I'm hoping that in 3 years, 5 years, whatever, I get a better show and full-time pay and all of that. But I'm hoping that I get longevity out of this. And in the meantime, you need to work insane hours constantly. And you are on the clock all the time with sports, because things are always happening and you need to know what's going on because everybody else knows what's going on. I don't have a full-time producer behind me. I got to know my stuff on my own. So I'm looking at all these things and piling it up. And it's just like the grind to maintain a national show is so immense. Really any show is hard, but national is just so much information and storylines and things to sift through. And to do that on your own for a 4-hour show is crazy. And so I just looked around and I said, as much work as I put into this and as much as I believe I could stay in this career forever if I wanted to, too many risks. Salaries were going down all the time. Like there was just a point where I just thought of what this future was, and I didn't like it, and I'd rather get out of there on my own terms. So I just decided, you know what? I'm young enough. I've got a lot of skills, and I'm just going to find somewhere else to figure it out.
And with that being said, you take the leap into SBX. And so one of the things I think about is the sense that the excitement of having the freedom, I'm imagining, especially as you were a co-founder in that stuff. What's it like to have unbridled freedom from after coming from an atmosphere where it was very tightly structured in terms of detail and things like that. Was that something that was easy for you to navigate, especially when you still have legal pads from Angelo with everything matters and every question and every answer and every this and every that? Did that help you, or did that take some getting used to in regards to synthesizing all of that freedom?
Yeah, I think all of my experience in radio gave me a completely overly inflated sense of confidence for what I was getting into. Honestly, it's like I got on a small little rowboat and
Right.
I just slowly drifted out to the middle of the ocean. And
Yep.
within a couple of months, I realized, oh, there's no land in any direction here, and this is really bad. It was scary, man. It was scary because
Mhm.
like there's real stakes, and I did leave
Right.
this job.
Mhm.
So there's a lot to be said for that. And I want to figure this out. So it was tough because I had no business experience whatsoever.
Mhm.
And at that same time, the podcast industry was dramatically changing because I'm
Yes.
really getting involved in it around 2020.
Mhm.
And that's when Zoom becomes a big thing, and
Yep.
then people start doing video podcasts, and then you get this incredible boom in terms of the quality of equipment and affordability for equipment
Mhm.
for home recording. But I'm working at a studio that's thriving on, or is supposed to thrive on, people coming in the door and recording the shows there. But it wasn't a good model. It was for the wrong customer and in all the wrong ways. I mean, the whole business was broken. It was bad. And so we had to systematically make massive mistakes and find ways to just reconfigure everything that we were doing. And when you look back at what the business was 5 years ago and what it is now, it's almost the complete opposite in every way. Like, we were production heavy for local creative shows that wanted a big following to get sponsors and sell merch and all that kind of stuff. Now we are a mostly remote, strategy based, like we do production, but it's not really about the production. It's about the strategy based podcasting for businesses. Totally different world.
Yeah.
So we had to, I literally like started on one end of the spectrum and very slowly over these last couple of years have pushed it to the other end.
So to me, one of the things I really want to focus on now would be that sense of that two-pronged sort of thing. And one of the things I think about, and I'm very curious to get your feeling or your vibe with, is that as the industry just continues to evolve, one of the things that I get more and more curious about, you're seeing more and more television talent that are leaving their prospective companies, sometimes by choice, sometimes by merger and acquisition, and sometimes just because, And so that sense of, as you were talking about a minute ago, that sense of production heavy and the lavish sets and all that sort of thing, and you're watching recognizable names clearly recording from home. And one of the things that I commend them for, because that's got to be quite an ego blow, one of the things I think that's phenomenal, which is people got very forgiving very quickly. Why do you think this shift has moved so fast in regards to the acceptance of that sense of remote and work from home, or record from home, or whatever the case may be, and the audiences that are just now starting to come in droves for this sort of platform? Why do you think the acceptance got so dramatic?
Well, because the status quo was directly challenged and forced to change in unforgivable conditions. I mean, because and it really does go back to the pandemic for that too.
Sure.
It's because
Sure.
because Zoom becomes the thing and people can't be in studios, and so it starts with major industries, right? You're talking about major network television and professional radio, people who are doing the shows from home. You're getting reporters that are checking in, and your opinionists with these news shows. Like they're at home. And they have the bookcase behind them.
Yeah.
And everybody at first it's like, oh, this is fun. I'm at home now. Like I'm gonna make some pancakes after this. And then and then eventually it's like, well, I mean, the backdrop does look good and the sound quality is good and the visual is good and they already have the equipment over there. So why would we change this? You know, it was just that everything came from the sense of there's only a way to execute this when everybody's in the studio, because this is the only place this equipment can exist.
Yes.
And the pandemic forced everybody to address, particularly these major networks and executives and showrunners, to acknowledge the fact that this work can be done at home. And it can be professional while done at home. And so when you see that on television, when you see that on radio and all these other places, and then all these companies get the idea of like, oh yeah, there's a market for this, then yeah, people are working from home. They want that flexibility. They thrive in it. So it's something that they day to day do themselves. And so it becomes quite natural at that point. It's almost silly to think that it was such a thing before to do it without it.
Oh,
right?
$1 billion sets behind you, and lights had to be just so. And oh my God, my overhead light is $50,000. I mean, the most recent, hey folks, if you're watching this in the year 2025, I'm giving some current, but it's like television personality Joy Reid, within what felt like 2 weeks of her going off MSNBC and her big mambo gorgeous set and production team and staff, to her having a fully fleshed out podcast within it could have been maybe 3 weeks, but it was, and pulling in millions of, like, so from a business perspective, I'm finding this astounding, like how fast this is moving. And one of the reasons I bring that up to light is because it's not just because of your presence hosting a podcast, but your business acumen, you're coaching people in terms of businesses to improve their podcast techniques. This is one of the things that I find fascinating, because for every, I don't know, Don Lemon, Joy Reid, Megyn Kelly, Chris Cuomo, whatever, that's just to name a few, there are millions of other people who aren't, or that just they're recording and they're flailing. What are some of the things when you are speaking with businesses? Like, do you have like the legal pad, so to speak, of a checklist of commonalities or things that have to happen first? You talk about strategy. To me, that's the sort of thing that, for yourself, what are some of the hot buttons strategy wise to begin?
Yeah,
You have no idea where to go.
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is the blueprint that anybody who's a business owner starting a podcast, the blueprint of what they think they will follow to make their show successful, it's 100% wrong, which is the unfortunate thing. And it's not their fault. It's just you mimic and understand things as you see it. So when all the podcasts that you hear about are, oh, this has hundreds of thousands of downloads or millions of downloads, and everybody talks about Joe Rogan, and like, okay,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's it. It's okay. Well, I'm going to be the next Joe Rogan. I need to get all these sponsors, and I need to get a big audience and a big downloads, and I got to talk to a large audience and be the, and it's all wrong. It's all wrong, completely wrong. Because sponsors, think about this. You're trying to build an audience that gets big enough that a sponsor goes, there's so many people here in this specific area that we can sell to that. This is valuable. And so as a business owner, you're now going to try to build an audience big enough. Like, you're going to spend years trying to build an audience that's big enough for somebody else to sell to it.
Right.
You're a business. Sell what you sell. Like, sell you. Think about you from the jump, and how you fit into these conversations. How are you naturally positioning yourself to be in front of the audience that you want to serve and can help? Like, that's what it's all about. But they think, no, I need to build the audience for sponsors. So the entire direction of the show, of what it's about, what they talk about episode by episode, the name of the show, the description of the show, everything is off base because it's in the wrong way. Then you get the guest element, where guests, at times, having a lot of guests on the show can be useful. And there's value of networking and relationship building and things like that. But the other side of it is that you're not getting to own your own platform. So where are you in this equation, right? Like, people to interview all of these other people is great, but especially people who interview and they just go like question, answer, and they wait. It's not like story, experience, personality, and the back and forth.
Take away. You know what I mean? So what do you do with the information? Vince, it's funny. I literally was looking at an article you just published on LinkedIn. You're calling it "Practice Makes Perfect is a Lie," and you're talking about there's three things that are like as in bullet points, and you just were talking about the guests. Where you say in there, be the show. If guests are the main focus, neither is your. I'm sorry, I read it wrong. If guests are the main focus, you're ignoring your business. So it must feel like this is where I feel like I'll speak for me, not for the lead. You know what I mean? Just for myself, which is when I first started, like my podcast has morphed multiple times, and I'm fairly confident it will probably morph, again, because I went from giving voiceover tips to interviewing pretty much, I don't know, any pal, friend, family member, whatever that said yes. And we'll just figure it out along the way to a very specific point. And I don't even know that's the funnel. It just feels good. As you're coaching businesses, what are some of the things that you think they should be looking to achieve or accomplish?
Yeah. So first off, they should be setting a business goal, which is ultimately connecting with their ideal client in whatever, through the content that they make and selling more, right? That's the biggest goal. So how are you using the show as a means to directly monetarily grow your business? What is the plan? Because if your whole thing, and this is for me with the kinds of people that I tend to work with, what you're selling is a high ticket item. So if you get a client and you're working with them for the year, then are you making $5,000 that year? Are you making $10,000 that year?
Right.
And that's way more money than you're going to make with a sponsor, especially early on, which is literally zero until you get to like 3,000 downloads an episode, which you may never get to. But yeah, so that's it. That's number one is you are the monetization, you are the sponsor, and it's about selling more for your business, creating more business. So that's the top thing. The other thing is being strategic with the kinds of guests, because if you're going to have them, fine, but you don't want to necessarily get on people that do exactly what you do, because you're the expert here. You know what I mean? Like I could get other people that run the exact kind of playbook as me. There are other businesses out there that do it, but on some level, what benefit is that for me? This is my business's marketing. Pepsi isn't going to have Coke on their show. You know what I mean? So why am I doing that? And people tend to do that all the time. Like what you want to do with guests is you want to find people that either are people you've done business with and can talk about what you do and the way that you solved it, and you can use it as almost a living case study and get testimonials.
Yeah, testimonials. Yeah, sure.
Great strategy. Another thing is people that are on the overlap of what you do. So, for example, I don't do advertising. You come to me for an advertising campaign, I will point you in another direction.
Yep.
But I'm starting to talk to people and build relationships with them who do the advertising. So that would be a good conversation to get somebody like that on my show. It values my audience. I can have a really good conversation about it. I'm not, as much as I am promoting their business, I'm not sacrificing my business for the sake of doing it. So now I'm building strategic partnerships. That's the other idea with your guests. So it's people that like are your ideal client. You solve their problem. People that work with you if you have employees or things that do the work, or people that can be a strategic partner for you. Like those are the kinds of things that you want in your guests. And then otherwise, it's just relentlessly selling, having a call to action in there that's relevant to your business. So you do all of this. I've listened to you for 40 minutes. Okay, well, where should I go?
Now what? Right.
Yeah. So you need to have that. And for me, it's like I'm such a freak about these things because, I spent all the time with Angelo and radio and teasing and all that kind of stuff where I was like, okay, well, for the show as I've constructed it now, it's pretty much a 30-minute show.
Yep.
And I've got 3 calls to action in there. And I've done that very intentionally of what I'm saying for each one and when I'm saying it. So that really matters. Like in the middle of my show, I do a call to action now for the newsletter. It's a top of funnel. It's a like commitment. You haven't listened all the way through, not asking for much. A little bit later, all right, you've listened to a lot of the show. I've given you this whole problem and how to solve it. Would you like me to do that for you? Well, here we go. Let's talk about it. Here's a call. Let's do a discovery call. Then you've made it all the way to the end of this show. You've listened for 30 minutes. Can you just give me a review? that would be great. If you could just take 10 seconds and hit 5 stars, that it's like a tip. It lets me know that you made it this far. Would really appreciate it. So that's methodical, but that's the kind of attention that it takes. So that's what I'm coaching people on, is this level of particular attention to everything that you are doing with the show.
So I think it's brilliant. And in terms of just that sense of precision, I think to acknowledge you first for being here today, I will say this, which is that I did it a long time ago in the sense of, again, not feeling comfortable in my own shoes. And I'm not saying you felt that way. What I'm saying is being young and leading people that were older than me. I really respect the fact that you've got such concrete and viable tactics and techniques. I think it really matters. When I seek collaborators and what have you, I don't want people coming on rambling. And I just don't. I don't look for bios. I don't simply look for tell-alls. And so I really acknowledge that sort of precision. And so what we're going to do, folks, we're making this easy. First off, I am sharing the stage of this episode. You will have Vince's SBX Productions website on there. There will certainly be a call to action for Vince Quinn. I'm strongly assuming that is the best place we're going to send people to, correct?
Oh, actually, John, incorrect. So here, let's do a little something. Let me give you some more gamesmanship here.
Yes,
okay.
Let's do it.
So here's the biggest thing: is what happens is a lot of times when you're on a podcast, the best thing to promote is your podcast, and it just all comes down to audience behavior, right? So. People always think, oh, well, I'm just going to put stuff on Instagram and they'll listen to the podcast. No, they won't. Probably not. They'll see you on Instagram and they will follow you on Instagram, and that is now your Instagram audience. That's what you built. And if they cross over, occasionally they will, but it's not going to be often, and you shouldn't live on that. So, so that's the idea. So when you're in front of the podcast audience, best move is always to just promote the podcast, because they listen to it. They get the medium. They're actively participating in it, and they've just listened to you on a podcast for the entire time. So I've experimented with different things, but the biggest thing that I've been doing is I guest all the time is like, I'm selling the podcast every time. Go listen to the show. In this case, it's called It's Not Just Talking. It's on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. So it's not just talking. And what I've been seeing over the last couple of months, I literally went from maybe 79 downloads in a month, and then it doubled. And I've been having the best month ever every single month for the last 6 months. But I really blew up once I started to spend more time promoting my show on other shows. I can't fully say that that is 100% the reason why, but I will tell you that it doesn't hurt. You know what I mean? It clearly was a factor. So I'm gonna continue doing that until it doesn't work, which I don't think will ever happen.
Well, if it's best month ever for the last 6 months, then you're on a tear. So, folks, what you're seeing in the bio is the link for It's Not Just Talking, and it's pretty much anywhere as well too. So, Vince Quinn. That's a heck of a lot of knowledge for you to dump in here. So I thank you very, very much. And to think you were merely blocks away, man, that's exciting to me. I acknowledge you tremendously. Thank you for showing up for me and for my audience as well, too. You made this great. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, John, this was awesome. Really enjoyed the conversation. Your energy's great, man. Usually people, for me, they're like, oh, Vince, your energy. And then I got on with you and I was like, this guy's got energy.
No,
this is what I'm talking about right here.
You're very kind. Yeah. And I'm grateful, and right back at you. And folks, as for me, you anywhere, Apple, Spotify, anywhere you listen or watch Your Message Received, we are right here. The home, the place, the platform. We kept growing and growing, and it's only because of you. So keep telling your friends, liking, sharing, subscribing, commenting. Oh, and maybe, as I just learned from somebody by the name of Vince Quinn, maybe drop a review and take the maybe out of it for this episode specifically. Heck of a lot of precision and detail. So there you go, and I saw the applause. Thank you for that, man. Folks, you just heard another episode of Your Message Received. Again, drop a review. Easy to do. And, and preferably a good one. So, John Duffin here, Duffin Media. Thanks so much for tuning in, listening. Have a great afternoon, and we will see you soon. Vince Quinn, thank you.
Thank you, John.
100%. Bye.
And now, making its way across the finish line, your message received has been a production of Duffin Media.